Hello everyone, Azilrinth here, and today we're going to take a look at Luke, a DPS summon unit that is of the physical element. He is going to be a unit that you will want to go for if you are planning on getting the debut unit, Sen Ying, who's also a physical summoner unit. He is a great support and secondary DPS to her. Now let's take a quick look at his leadership engraving skills here. So we have Unstoppable Airborne. This was one that applies to all Echomancers in your team. So when a skill hits fewer than 5 targets, it'll deal an additional 20% at level 1, 30% at level 2, and 40% at level 3 extra damage to airborne units. And one big thing with this is while he attacks airborne units, his other big teammate, Sen Ying, that will be the debut unit, she's an anti-air type unit as well, so she'll get a significant buff from this as well if he's the leader. This is one you can get on a couple other traces here. If needed. So if he's not the leader, say if you have Sen Ying as your leader, that is another way to acquire it. But outright, this one's a good one automatically right off the bat, since a lot of the people he'll be paired with are going to be against airborne units. So his second one here, Tactical Upgrade. This one only applies to Tactician and Support members. And so this one is after casting an active skilled or seed skill of the buff, summon, or recovery type, grants all allied Echomancers 2 stacks of Inspire. The number of Inspire stacks obtained through this method cannot exceed 4, 7, or 10 at level 3. And Inspire is a huge buff that you can get in the game. There's different ways to get it. So when you look at it, it's each stack of Inspire increases damage by 10% up to 20 stacks. So with this one, you can get it up to 10 right off the bat. And with the 10%, that's 100% extra additional damage. And one big thing with this is this applies only to Tactician and Support units, but this buffs all allied Echomancers. It's just the Tactician and Support units that can give you those Inspire stacks. So someone like Freda, and then you have Luke who can also do it. So it's a good way to at least get your first 10 stacks for that. And with that, we'll go ahead now and take a look at his combat skills. So the first thing we'll look at here is his basic attack, Doomsday Courier. A lot of his stuff is very basic, but it is quite useful for the physical team. You'll kind of see there. So this basic attack is a single and it's anti-air, so he does attack air units. So it pairs really well with that leadership skill that he has. So he delivers a standard package to the target, dealing physical damage that is equal to 250% final attack upon hit. The standard package then expands into a mini turret that fires bullets at nearby enemies for 7 seconds, dealing physical damage equal to 270% final attack in total. So one thing you'll notice is it seems this is just kind of your standard basic attack that's doing some damage, but this little package that's come out brings out a turret. When you look at his trait, it says packages are summons. So anything that impacts summons is going to impact the damage of just even his basic attack, because this standard package is considered a summon. And then skills generate all kinds of packages, so we'll kind of look at his skill where he can generate some other packages. And you just know that they're all summons, so he is going to be a core member of your summon teams alongside someone like Sen Ying. So we take a look at his active skill up here, Deadly Delivery. This one is a damage summon, barrier, and barrier pin. So this one delivers an isolation device to the target location, which deals physical damage equal to 1,250% of its final attack to targets within a 250 unit radius. The isolation device then expands into a high strength physical barrier. So this is basically a shield that the enemies need to break when they're using their projectiles against it. And so it's a 300 unit radius, and it defends against the projectiles, periodically firing laser beams at nearby enemies for 20 seconds. This also deals physical damage equal to 630% final attack in total, and it's highly effective against enemy barriers. So it's a nice way you can knock down their barriers, but also taking hits yourself. So nice little thing there. This one only has 4 uses, so this one you'll have to use sparingly and use it when the situation arises where it is best used. And then his other one here is Scheduled Delivery. This one's an auto. And so the nice thing about auto is it's going to auto run every time the cooldown's up. And so this wasn't something that you have to actively use. So a lot of things that you already can notice with Luke is he's going to mostly do his own thing. You won't have to do much in terms of controlling him except placing him on the field. So this one is Scheduled Delivery. This one's a damage and debuff one. So when it runs, the first thing it does is your basic attacks will deliver an extra scheduled package upon hit. After this effect triggers 3 times, the next basic attack delivers an additional priority package. So it's basically giving it says debuff it, it's almost basically a buff to him. It basically makes it where his packages deliver an extra scheduled package, which is this one right here. And so when you run a basic attack, scheduled package will taunt the nearby enemies and detonates after 10 seconds, or when broken, and it deals physical damage equal to 1,500% final attack damage to enemies within a 200 unit radius. So just remember, this is it's a summon, so it's going to get all the buffs from summons. So you can kind of stack those buffs to summons to increase this damage quite dramatically. And it's a nice little taunt. And then priority package, that's the one that after he does that 3 times, the next basic one will throw out a priority package. So that's the one down here. And priority package lasts for 20 seconds, firing 7 bullets within quick succession at the target, dealing physical damage equal to 1,700% of final attack. So nice, really big hit there. As it counts as a summon, getting all the benefits of all the summon buffs that you'll have within your team. So it's fairly basic on terms of the skills there. And then when you get to the seed or his ultimate here, this one is a buff, allied buff, and summon interception type. This one deals physical damage equal to 3,000% of final attack to targets in a straight line. So it just does a straight line attack on a larger group of enemies as it goes out. And then it increases all allied Echomancer's attack by 25% for 30 seconds. This intercepts enemy projectiles, sending 8 packages along the path. So any projectiles that the enemies shoot at you, it's going to intercept and destroy them so that they can't actually come in and hit your team. And then he has the tactician trait down here, which is at the start of combat gains 50% seed charge. So it's similar to some of the other units where he's going to be already halfway there to achieving his ultimate. So he can get this fairly early on in a battle. And so the last thing we'll take a look at with Luke is his seed, or what you basically get as you upgrade him through duplicates. So with the first one here, you get an additional trait added on to his standard trait, which grants an additional use of the active skill Deadly Delivery. So we already know with Deadly Delivery you only have 4 uses, so this will basically mean that you'll get a 5th additional use that you can use in a battle. And then it also makes your priority and standard package deal an additional 35% increased damage. So just a pretty big, massive DPS increase there, and then being able to use the skill an additional time is just a massive amount of damage, and that'll be really good for some of the bosses you need to fight with them. The second one, this one's just increasing stats like all the others. The third one's when you get your next trait here, which extends the duration of all packages except the scheduled package by 5 seconds. So those turrets that it's throwing out, or that barrier it puts out there, it's going to make it last an additional 5 seconds. So that's going to both increase your DPS as well as some of that survivability with that one. So that'll be a nice one to pick up. Now it is on the 3rd dupe, so it'll be a little harder to get. But him being one of the units that we're starting off in the standard banner, he is one that you may be able to get to 3 fairly quickly depending on your luck on pulls. And there are ways to get dupes in other ways, well, not fast, but slowly, through building up some currency that you can purchase in the shop. I don't know how many dupes you can do at the current point, but there are other ways that you can acquire them. So when we look at the 4th one, it's just a additional 3 levels to Deadly Delivery, and the 5th one's additional 3 levels to Scheduled Delivery. So you basically will be able to level these up to 15, which basically is just more stat increases on them. And so the last thing we'll take a look at here is his team builds. So right now on Pridewind, they have one build they show for him, but there's plenty of options that you're going to have of them, especially in the future, since he's going to focus around physical as well as the summoning. So the main one that I'm going to say is going to be a core that you're going to want to get alongside him is Sen Ying. So Luke is definitely going to be a really good pickup if you are wanting to go for Sen Ying right off the bat on the debut banner, because she has summons, she's physical element as well as he is. And so they both can take care of airborne units, and they pair really well together, especially with future units that we'll be having coming up. Then you have Fred as your support, just outright the best support in the game. And the nice thing with her is going to be able to, if you have him as a leader, triggering that one, she can help trigger the Inspire stacks with his skill. And then you kind of have your tank over here. It has Laurel. Now this one is going to be the expensive option, because as you can see on this team, it's got 3 SSRs. It's going to be hard to get right off the bat. But there's plenty of options that you can kind of go with in here to kind of fill that role in the beginning. I think one of these, I think Tyan Rue is one of the free ones you'll get right off the bat, so you can always use him. Or you can use like a Shu or some of these others. The beginning's fairly easy before you start getting into that more mid to end game stuff where you're going to really need a tank. So you can kind of fill this slot with anyone right off the bat. And then you kind of just figure out what you have and what you can use. But I will say Laurel is going to be an easy pickup if you do want her as well on the corrosion side of things. And she is going to be on her own standard rate up banner, so you can pick her up on the standard rate up. So if you're lucky with Sin Ying, I could say you might want to go ahead and pull over Laurel. And then you can start off right off the bat having 3 SSRs if you use your selector for Luke. And then you'll have your random as well. Who knows what you get for your random one. And so the last thing to kind of look at here is on the tier list. You can see that they have him starting off in global on the S tier. And then as we go into the CN server side of things, he holds well, just like all the other S tiers, where he gets just knocked down to A tier as we get some of the debut banner units that come out that start to power creep these initial ones. But he still holds on. He's still fairly useful, and he's still a core member of the summon/physical team in the future. And he can pair really well with some of the future units, especially the ice team. When you get to Boras here, he's kind of one that I'm really looking forward to when he comes out. And it's just because he's one that can make it where your summons crit, have 100% crit rate, as well as giving your team members the ability to do ice damage. So you can almost kind of build a semi-ice team out of Luke and Sin Ying in the future with him. So just some thoughts on that for the future. I'm not going to go too much in detail on that. Currently, we'll go more in depth on the actual teams when I get my hands on him. He is the one that I will be targeting for my selector if I do not get him in my random when the game releases. And that's because I am going for Sin Ying. And so when I get Sin Ying, I'm definitely going to want to have him on my team. And then Alfred is going to be an easy pickup because you'll get an SR selected for her. So I'm going to have 3 of that core comp right off the bat. And so I definitely will be making a video fairly early on that team and how well it works. And I'll kind of show it within the first boss that we have within the event. And that pretty much kind of covers up Luke. A big thing with him is he can fit in other teams as well. He does not need Sin Ying to be useful. So if you get him on your random SSR and you don't want Sin Ying, don't feel obligated to need to pull for her. You can make him work with other team comps. He's just a really easy pickup if you're actually going for Sin Ying because you have a selector to be able to get him easily. Sin Ying you will have to get off the debut banner to get her. So don't feel obligated to get him get her if you get him. He's going to have value there. Yeah, to wrap it up, if you like this content, if you could like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And I plan to continue going through the rest of the SSRs as well as continuing with guides in the future, kind of showcasing team comps as I get them and get to play around with them. But yeah, thanks for watching.